So today we presented, we discussed today several approaches. We have not covered all the approaches. I like very much the discussion about rewetting, about reforestation of abundant lands, and, for example, thinning density. So there could be different ways how the additionality can be achieved. And in our project sites, we don't need to make everything equal. I mean, something which may work in Finland maybe will not work in Iceland or in Ireland, or vice versa. So we would like really that somehow we look to the local conditions and, for example, look to the EU carbon directive and see what is appropriate in your sites. So, for example, I'm just trying to speak from ahead. So maybe, for example, in Finland, we could find some site near UN, so where we could do, for example, this smart thinning, what was just nicely presented by Mauricio. But then maybe somewhere near Oulu, we will establish site where we could look about fertilization. So that we put some, for example, maybe it will be some peatland. We have some very good contacts there also who are spreading the nutrients, so that we, for example, increase forest growth because of the fertilization. Or maybe in Iceland, maybe if Olafur will find for us one site which is was just replanted on former abundant land or kind of not a forest land, or maybe you could have already site with some thinning or something which is trees is growing. And the similar manner, for example, if Jose would consider that maybe there could be some land where we could do the forestation project for test, or maybe there could be some, I know that you are managing quite a big property, maybe in your protected forest we could think about tree selection and think about some optimization technique and extension of the tree rotation. So there could be different sites with different lessons learned, and I think it would be advantage if after 1 or 2 years we could meet somewhere second time and exchange ideas like how it's happened, what was happened, what worked, what doesn't work, compare those methods in carbon, compare the costs of those methods, so to make those kind of analysis like what is really working, what is not working. So that's why this is the way how we call it in our project, which we call the living labs. So what we would like to do is to use this living lab approach. So in each country, in each place, there will be site which will serve as a living lab. It means we will try in real life something, we will get some experience, and we will later on communicate this information to the stakeholders, to potential interested parties, like to simply explain them what is working, what is not. So if we, for example, test certain drone, maybe we will have a good results, or maybe with another drone it will be bad results or something like this. But we would like to share like most critical components. So our ultimate goal for this year is start establishing demonstration sites, and tomorrow we will have a more kind of open discussion. We will share kind of our thoughts and ideas, and but the ultimate goal that after tomorrow discussion you will still have some time to think, but maybe, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks, but then at the end of, let's say, at the end of May or at the end of June, we need to decide what will be the site in the forest. And once we decided that this site will be, that this area will be existing, we create a clear boundaries of the site, and then we will communicate those to our partners in Oulu. So I'm expecting that next step we will organize a drone flying campaign in this site. So we create a digital twin or create a digital copy of the site. You will involve also your local experts, biodiversity experts, carbon experts, that we will do very high quality quantification of what do we have at the site, both in digital form, using digital methods, new methods, but also using traditional methods. There's nothing wrong in going and measuring those trees with caliper and or check the biodiversity on the site. So those are the key ideas. And then, based on this information, we will calculate this initial carbon content on the site. And once we calculate the initial carbon content, we can review, do we need to apply some intervention measures? Because maybe in some site, we just don't need to do anything. Just let's continue, let's observe. But maybe on some sites, we can start doing something. So it's then to be decided within the project. And once we created the strategy, once the digital twin for each site is created and the strategy is created for the site, then we will wait some time. I think the minimum will be like 1 year, so that after 1 year we can revisit the site and document the change detection and document how much carbon was accumulated. So do we see any impact of interventions? Maybe some interventions we will not able to see during the project, and there is nothing wrong with it. We actually wrote it in our proposal that some interventions may result after 5 years. But what is important, that the information of those sites and interventions will be documented and published online. So we will have a project website where for each site we publish digital twins. So we publish those 3D models of the sites, so that in future, if we will not be able within a project time to demonstrate this really change in carbon accumulation, there will be possibility to revisit it further. But I would say maybe we can discuss it tomorrow, but already now European Commission announced that there are at least 3 calls opening next year about forest carbon farming. So if you like the idea, we have now clear opportunity, to submit a further proposal to be able after 5 years to inventory what was happened with our initial project activities. So this is kind of mainstream, so it's a kind of longer timeline. But that's why I think what is very important that we also already start to think now about capacity building, because when we select the site, and when we start to doing something on the site, we already need to see a little bit forward, like whom we will bring to those sites and what we will be demonstrating. In Finland, we have very good system, we have very good approach developed. We work with local forestry center, and the forestry center is communicating with the forest owners. So usually in Luke, in our institute, we had this kind of experience that we develop something in research project, inform forestry center, and then forestry center organize public seminar for forest owners. And each forest owner get an email that, okay, this date, please welcome for a forest. Guys from Luki will be showing that and that, and you can learn something new for you. And forest owners are very much interested to see and to learn, and there are always big number of people participating in those events. But so we would like to transfer this model to other countries. So maybe in your context, it could be not only forest owners, but it could be buyers of the credits. It could be people involved in this project, environmental activists. And I know that, for example, in Ireland, you're working quite a lot with youth and with local population and providing them quite a lot of education and trainings about carbon. Maybe you can consider including some components into courses what you're already running by your center. So this is a kind of our overview how we are going to continue.